Good morning and welcome. We are kicking off another week of video devotions to the book of 2 Samuel with 2 Samuel chapter 3. So we are so glad to have you with us this morning. Now, if you've been following along with us through 2 Samuel, you'll know these first few chapters tell the story of the time between King Saul, the first king over Israel's death, and the time when David will eventually become king over Israel. And you'll know that the first two chapters of 2 Samuel talk about how in the aftermath of King Saul's death, there's this uncertainty, this disagreement over who should become king after King Saul. So David becomes king over some of the southern territories in Israel, what we know as Judah. And one of King Saul's sons becomes king over the northern territories of Israel. And there's this back and forth between David's men and really the armies of King Saul, what's left of them, trying to figure out who should be king over Israel. But anyway, today's story really focuses on this man named Abner. Now, Abner was a commander of the northern territories, the military of the northern territories. So he had some run-ins with David and with David's men, particularly with David's commander, Joab. And Abner actually, we read about it earlier, had murdered one of Joab's brothers in this battle that David's men had with the armies of the northern territories. Well, today's story is about how Abner grows dissatisfied with the direction, with the leadership of the king of the northern territory. So he comes to David when Joab, David's commander, is not around. And he tells David that if David would be willing to forgive him, and if David would be willing to trust him, that Abner could help deliver the kingdom of Israel over to David. Well, as we read, David does forgive Abner. He does trust Abner, and he sends Abner on his way to help to convince the Israelites to recognize David as their king. Well, the problem with this plan is that David never informed Joab. So Joab comes back not long after the meeting between David and Abner. He learns that Abner had come to speak to David and David had let Abner go. And Joab gets so mad, he feels so betrayed by David that he goes and he slaughters Abner and ruins the plan that Abner had made with David. And it got me thinking this week, hopefully we've never found ourselves in a situation like Joab and Abner, something to that scale. But anytime somebody does something wrong to us, they do something to hurt us, we have an opportunity, a choice to decide how we're going to react. So we can react like David and we can forgive. We can learn to trust again and to hope that others will recognize their sins and their mistakes, that they'll seek forgiveness for those things, that they'll show their contrition to us, and that they will recognize that they can become better people. Or we can react like Joab and refuse to forgive. So I don't know what you're going through in life, but I'm sure from time to time people do things that hurt you, things that upset you, things that disrespect you. And I hope we can learn from David's example in those moments to extend mercy and grace and forgiveness and to allow others, especially those that have harmed us, to have an opportunity to seek our forgiveness and to become better people because we were willing to extend grace and to give them another chance. Well, I hope you find something from this lesson, and I will see you on Thursday morning for 2 Samuel chapter 4.